stopped taking care of myself. I wasn't going out and talking to people. I really went inside and I thought, if I just keep, if I could just keep moving, and every once in a while I would get a text from someone, my friends in Vegas and my girlfriend in Colorado, who at one point I thought I had really effed up our relationship. But, that's what good friendships are. Sometimes they need to call you out, and which my friends did. I had a few people that called me out and said, "Hey, there's some changes that you need to make, you know, and you need to keep doing the work." And Christmas Eve of 2023 was, I believe, a huge breaking point for me. And I say this during Mental Health Awareness Month. I had suicidal thoughts. And that Christmas Eve, when I had discovered some things that hurt my heart was so hurt. I felt betrayed. I felt I betrayed myself. How could I have let myself, with all the things that I know about recovery, how did I let myself get to this point? I realized also, too, I was grieving those parts of myself in my early recovery. I was trying to use the same tools in my early recovery as I was trying to use in 28, 29 years old, 28, 29 years of recovery. It's different. I had changed, I had grown, but I didn't see those parts of myself. So that night, I went on the phone and I just wanted someone to tell me it was okay to go, because I was too afraid to listen to that inner voice. And that inner voice wasn't little Carol. That inner voice was that part of me that was so dark and had given up, that wanted to not isolate anymore. I just didn't want to be here. And that's really what it was. The part of me that had gone back inside to deal with those layers of trauma and grief and disappointment and anger and fear that was driving it all. That's where I had to start. That's where I had to start. So that is that part of my story. Today, things aren't perfect, especially with what's going on in the world. I don't get out as much as I should, and I'm not going to should on myself, but I am still slowly but surely moving my way back into places where, one, doing this podcast has brought me to, interviewing, going traveling again. I'm being very aware to what energies I want to bring into my life, because I don't want to get back to that place of isolating. Now, I'm going to talk about the culture of isolation. And there's a culture to isolation that many people really look at as solitude. It's good to be in a place of solitude where you can reset, where you can pivot. And that's where I eventually moved into, as where solitude for me, I was able to control that. I was able to at least put out the things that I wanted to start working on, working with my coach, working with my therapist, and things that I just wanted to do on my own. And so I want to read one of the readings that I read every day. It's called Living a Life of Awareness. It's probably backwards, but Living a Life of Awareness. And this is written by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. He's the son of Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote the Four Agreements. So if you're familiarized with the Four Agreements, I've always messed this up, but don't take things personally. Be impeccable with your word. Don't make assumptions and do your best. Yay! I remember them. So if you ever want to find some like kind of daily reading, because it's not dated. This one is not dated. Like I have some meditation books that are dated. This one in particular is not. But it's today's reading was on habits. So sometimes we have habits or practices that cause us pain, yet we continue to do them. This is because the same action also brings us comfort in some way. Being honest with ourselves in this regard is key to knowing whether or not we really want to change them. When we look deeply and honestly at habits, we can't seem to let them go. One of the two will occur. Either we'll see how the habit is not benefiting us at the deepest level, and we'll be able to change that habit much more easily. Or we may find that we are only trying to stop a habit or practice because we have been domesticated into thinking it's really bad. But that for ourselves, we don't really feel that way. In this case, our agreement is renewed and our habit becomes a better word, a practice. Either case, awareness is the moment and the key. There's a practice with awareness of how we really feel about a particular habit. We regain something very important, our ability to make a choice, to say yes or to say no all over again. Having unconditional love for yourself is the key to knowing what is really true for you. Isolation became a habit, just like using drugs and alcohol. And it didn't start when I started using drugs and alcohol. Isolation had embedded in me at the age when I was young. I hid from people. I masked. I put masks on. Um, if there was something about you that you liked about yourself, I took that on. I simulated those parts of you that you felt comfortable with in hopes that you would feel comfortable around me. I hid behind my mother's whiteness. And I feared that people wouldn't see me if I showed up the way if I was raised by my dad. I pretended. I went into acting and music to pretend to be someone else. What are you pretending? Who are you pretending to be? There may be parts of me that my daughter-in-law saw that weren't authentic. I can't tell you exactly what they were. Maybe I tried too hard. Maybe I tried too hard to want to be part of her life. And that wasn't what was meant to be. That wasn't our journey at that time. We don't communicate right now. My hope is that one day we will. We'll get back to that place. But I know I will be a different person. I can't project or predict who she will be. She is a great mom to my grandchildren. And, again, I can't say how her relationship with my son is, but most of the time, there are times when I know he's stressed and he's just trying to do well. He's trying to be a good dad. He's trying to be a good husband. My good friend Raquel would say, unless they ask, don't offer. Meaning, unless he asks for help or he asks for suggestions, don't just put it out there. Don't offer. I might say something that may trigger him or trigger me. And, the domestication for me was having high expectations, not only of others, but having high expectations of myself, wanting to be that person that everyone could be proud of, getting that validation, affirming, you are such a great grandma. I get that from at least from my granddaughter. I call her my mini me. When she runs to me or she has this big smile on her face and she says, Grandma, once in a while the boys do. Uh, but just a smile, just to be around them. I was with them last weekend on Saturday. We went to the car and played. Um, I had to find some new survival tools this round and this season in my life. As like I said earlier, I'm 63. I look good. I'm also preparing for, retirement one day. And what is that going to look like? Because then I'm trying not to put a high expectation on, but I definitely want to bring cruising on the edge on the road in my retirement days. And I may have to reevaluate what tools I need to bring. So, what tools are you using right now? What are you using to normalize your habits? Are there habits that you need to discard? Are there people that you need to move on with? I think a lot of us, at least I know for myself, grief is hard. Grief, as they say, comes in many stages. Grief has its purpose if we allow ourselves to go through it and not go around it. I'm going to leave you with one more reflection question. What conversations are you afraid to have with yourself, your children, your partner, or your friends? And what emotions have gone unseen? So that's where I'm wrapping it up. In June, we're going to go into discovery. We're going to take a deeper dive into discovery. I'm also going to have my guest co host, Tom Jackson. Tom is also someone I've been on a journey with uh, through this recovery and also as a peer support specialist. He's an amazing person. We're also going to honor Pride Month, but there we go. I just want to thank you all. If there was anything that resonated with you today, if you've ever felt othered or disconnected or emotionally isolated or had to perform versions of yourself, and maybe you've heard some of that in my story today. If there was parts of you that you had to perform to survive, I want you to know that you are not alone. I want you to know that healing is possible. I also want you to know that your story has power. You know, I know my story has power. I have gotten through more things than I could have ever imagined. So, if you wouldn't mind, please like, subscribe. Sorry, just need to plug in for a minute. Ooh, got distracted. So please like, subscribe, share, comment. We really appreciate your comments, especially on these solo videos or any of the videos or podcasts that I put out. I'm still in the learning process. My seven figure podcast is where I've started this journey. And I'll also have a link and where you can get information if you're looking to get your story out there or share other people's stories or have a topic that, is really not being addressed. My topic may not, the topics that I put out there may not be new, but there might be just one thing that I share today that might resonate that you want to pick up and put in your toolbox. That's my hope. So, this podcast is about community, and we're building one. So, keep showing up, keep doing the work, and keep cruising on the edge. I want to thank you all for being here with me today and see you next week.